I started this platform, obviously now we're in a pandemic, just because there are so many people that have a lot of questions when it comes to streaming. I mean, of course, same questions I had, and still have to this day about, just how do you get things going in the streaming world? How do you handle the business of entertainment? Because a lot of people do focus on the glamorous side, but it's the business that makes it all run. And so I wanted to get in here and begin to speak to some people and just listen to the questions you guys have and kind of be a resource for everybody at this point in time. And yeah, I mean, another big reason for doing these Q&As is sort of get a feel of what everybody's looking for and what everybody wants to know, so that we can curate content for the masses and create special events for the people in Atlanta, or go to LA and create these special events. So this is not just benefiting you guys, it's also benefiting us. So that's why I really appreciate everyone so much for showing up, and I'm looking forward to you guys' questions, because it'll not only am I able to help you guys, but you guys are helping us at the same time. Destiny, like I said, I want to go ahead and start with you. Anything you want to know, just dive in. Tell me what you're thinking.
Like, I have so many questions. I can't really think of one right now, but like the one that I've been thinking about for a couple of days is I'm trying to understand the difference between like admin deal, like for producers, like an admin deal
versus a publishing deal.
Yeah, versus a publishing deal, and then like there's also a production deal as well.
Okay, are you looking to sign producers, or are you looking for this for yourself?
I just want to know, like, like I want to be an A&R, so like I want to know everything about everything. Like now that I'm an intern,
Right.
I see like things that come through the email and stuff like that when it's as far as like, when you're going to clear a record, so it's like I'm seeing producer agreements and stuff like that. So now I'm really interested in like the legal aspects of it, because it, as they say, like the more you know, the better you are.
Okay, so yeah, this is a very, very a lot of different pieces to this question. I mean, when you're talking about clearing a record, you're usually talking about paying the producer, possibly paying the songwriter, and that's about it. You're not really dealing with their publishing from a label side. A publishing deal and an admin deal, that's something that the producer or writer would take. And basically, there's two things. The publishing deal is you're giving away your publishing to somebody else. You're basically selling your publishing. An admin deal is saying, I'm giving you permission to administer this. How can I break it down even better? When they say that means that they're overseeing what happens. So like, for instance, if they are clearing the record, the admin will make sure that your BMI is fully informed, so that you're collecting your money. It's almost like they're managing your publishing, versus a publishing deal is saying, here, I'm selling you 50% of my publishing. And so that's why most people opt for the admin. Even though you get less money, you still own your rights. Publishing deals, you're selling half of your rights. But again, from your perspective as an A&R, you wouldn't necessarily be a part of that. A&Rs mainly, they put together the projects, and then when it comes to clear the projects, they may go through management, or they may handle it themselves, as far as calling their producers, hey man, I'll give you $2,500, or I'll give you $7,500, or that doesn't fit our budget, sort of situation. Not necessarily, you wouldn't really have anything to do with the publishing.
Right.
So hopefully that answers your question.
Yes, it makes sense. Like the admin deal is you keep your rights, but the co-publishing deal is you sell half of your rights.
Correct.
And they administer your.
They do still administer. Yes, they do still administer. Yeah. But it's really from the person's side. It's really just about, A, do you want to keep your rights, and B, how much money are you looking for? Because if you're looking for a larger bag, you're going to have to go co-publishing. But if you're not looking for a substantial amount of money, you're going to want to do the admin deal, because at least you get to control your rights.
So what about like, now, okay, I've been thinking so much about publishing that I'm forgetting about streaming. So is it that like streaming is royalties?
Streaming is royalties, and the way that a producer and a writer gets paid off royalties is called mechanical royalties. this is gonna get a little deep for you. So the way mechanical royalties work is when they sign that production deck or production agreement, it's gonna say, you know, we get this many points, we get 3 points, we get 4 points. Those points are your mechanical royalty. So now if the song sells for $1, you get 4 points. That means you get 4 cents out of that dollar. And that's how you get paid as a producer, as a writer.
Okay.
But that's not publishing again. Publishing is going to be from radio. Publishing publishing is airplay. And that's where your money comes from publishing. Also satellite radio, and then it gets complicated because you have your publishing, you have your sound royalties, and then which is what sound exchanges, and then you have your mechanical royalties.
Yeah.
So it really gets complicated. But honestly, as an A&R,
I don't need to know all that.
Yeah, these things don't really fall under your purview.
But you know, I mean, I feel like as somebody who wants to be an A&R, like I'm only an intern right now, and I haven't really found an artist or anything that anybody wants to sign. So it's like,
yeah, and that's the
not
number
really looking that great for me. So that's why, yeah, I have to have like another skill. I need to know more, you know, just in case.
Well, I mean, there are books out there that you definitely can read. I'm trying to think off the top of my head, but you can honestly Google, and there are books that are 30 years old that are still perfectly relevant when it comes to things like that: publishing, sound royalties, mechanical royalties. Those things haven't changed. So you can definitely go pick up a book and read. But you already said it. The number one way to become an A&R is to find an artist that they want to sign.
Yeah.
That's the number one way. So if that's what you want to do, then you should really be hitting the ground looking for that artist and then bringing them to them, saying, hey, you know, this is who's next. And if they see you do that, they're going to say, man, this probably will be a great A&R for us. We need to go ahead and hire her.
Right. That would be the ideal situation, but
yeah, most definitely it would be the ideal situation. It's very possible. I mean,
it's April and my trip is over like next month, so I don't really see that happening.
Yeah, but it's all about the relationships. Whether you're an intern there or not, do you know everybody there? Do you have their numbers? Will they pick up the phone when you call?
Okay. Yeah.
So that's what it's about. You don't have to physically be in that building. It's about the relationships you made while you were in that building.
You're right. Thank you.
No problem. No problem. Jordan, anything you wanted to any question you might have?
I think I had like a two-part question.
We can't hear you again. You might, I don't know if your headphones picking up the joint. What is happening over there?
Hello?
Yeah, okay, we got you now.
Okay, yeah. No, I was saying I think I had like a two-part question. The first question is like in regards to I think A&R from your perspective. Like what are you guys looking for, or like, you know, just in your experience, what are like labels most looking for in like a new artist that's like emerging, you know what I mean? Like they didn't pop off yet, but they're like on the cusp, you know what I mean? I think that's the first part. And the second question I have is like more so when it comes to producers as well, you know what I mean? What does that look like on the producer side?
Well, for artist side in 2020, man, it's very data driven now. So it's not so much about the actual music as much as it is about the data. And to be totally frank with you, nowadays there's so many tools that are available. They can spot you a mile away. Like you don't even have to have 100,000 views on a video or anything like that, because they have the tools now that'll pull data when it shows a spike. So if you go from 10,000 to 20,000, that'll pop up on their radar. You know what I mean? So it doesn't even have to be big yet. It could be still small, but what they're looking for is the growth spikes. And so they say, hey, there's something there. This went from 10,000 to 20,000 in a day. People are paying attention to this. Let me go snatch this up. So now it's very much data driven. but some good companies, not to say that the data-driven ones aren't good, so I shouldn't say it like that, but some companies, they do still care a lot about the music, and some companies don't. And so, I mean, I hate to tell you that, but just honestly, it is pretty much data-driven now. Because what you may be thinking about is artist development, which doesn't really happen anymore. Nowadays, it's more so on a manager and a team you build around yourself as an artist to develop you, because the labels aren't doing artist development anymore. And even if you do get a record to blow up, that doesn't all of a sudden mean that you're gonna have this long career. You're still gonna need that artist development built around you to be able to take that and build off of it, or else you're gonna be, the one hit wonder, so to speak, or whatever. On the production side, more so publishing companies are looking for producers. They want to tie up their publishing, but honestly, most producers are already plugged into the artist because we're in the social media world. So most producers are really doing their own thing. They're reaching out to the artist. They're sending the artist beats. So it's not much like it was anymore, where it was political. Because it used to be very much so like you couldn't get on an artist project because you wasn't signed to who the artist was signed to. But now I can just DM the artist my damn self as a producer, send them the beats, and if they like the beats, they gonna fuck with the beats. You know what I mean? So there's no middleman, there's no roadblocks anymore. So now producers, the best producers are the ones that hustle the hardest. You know what I mean? That's really what it comes down to. I hope, did that answer your question, or what do you think? You have more thoughts? I think your mic went out again on this.
Yeah, that definitely answered my question. Definitely. It kind of puts it into perspective because like, just about like the research you do from, like let's say like the 2000s, or even like, 5 years ago,
Yeah.
like it's like much different. But yeah, that puts a lot into perspective for sure.
Yeah, no, it's changed a lot, man. Honestly, there's so many artists now, because nowadays you have your home studio that you can put up for $800 and you can make music, which is a great thing because I mean, a lot of people wasn't really getting to get their voice heard before, but now every voice
Right.
is being heard for the most part. So it's really hard to kind of cut through all that noise. And the best way for artists to cut through that noise is just to sort of build a groundswell. Just start in their circle and just keep going and keep letting it swell more. That's really the best way to do it. But no, I appreciate it. Obi, I see we got you back in here, man. Good to see you, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Nah, no doubt. So, I mean, anything you want to dive in about? How was your?
Yeah, I mean, wait, hold on, wait. You said how's my week?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, man. It was good, honestly. I just been kind of relaxing, man. Like I'm still working a lot with a artist that I'm managing. So like just talking with the label and stuff like that. But man, it was good for the most part. I did have a question for you though.
Okay, go ahead.
What is one thing that you would have done differently just throughout your career? Because again, like, I know that you've been doing this for a long time. And
Yeah.
you've been able to dabble in, multiple different areas. So
Right. Oh, I mean, because I've had a long career.
right.
So there's multiple things is more or less is what I think of. I mean, maybe the biggest thing would have just been my attitude. You know what I mean? Early on, I was real young, fly, had a lot of arrogance to myself because I accomplished a lot at a very young age. And
Right.
so, I mean, that would be the first thing that comes to mind is if I would have had the mindset I have now, how much further could I have been? I wasn't very, my networking wasn't very on point back then. I more so had an attitude that I was successful, so I didn't really need anybody else. But now it's not even about needing them. It's just about peer levels, just having peers to be able to tap into them, help me, and I help them. It's not that we need each other, but we're getting so much further faster because we're relying on each other and we're able to tap resources. So I wish I would have knew that early on. I read a book before I started this position at Alamo, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And honestly, I don't even think I would be able to do this position at Alamo if it wasn't for that book. Like that book kind of changed my mindset even more. And so I would advise that book for everybody on here, How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's an amazing book. And it really just teaches you how to treat people. Honestly, in the short term, it teaches you how to treat people and how to deal with people. And so it's a really good book. My position that I have at Alamo is based on relationships. You know what I mean? I got the position based on the relationships I had at Spotify and Apple, etc. But the thing about it was, just because they were my friends, it really didn't mean that I knew how they did their jobs. You know what I mean? So I had to come in and learn how to do their jobs. And I treat them a little differently now because now they're not just friends, they're work associates. And so now I'm much more respectful, to just put it simple. I'm much more respectful for their time. I'm much more considerate when I'm engaging with them. Because now we're working on two fronts. We're working on a friendship level and we're working on a work level. But I don't think I would have even had that acknowledgement, or wouldn't even be able to see things like that if I hadn't read that book and started to understand how human beings work. And so those are the top two things, man. I think I just would have been a much more friendlier, reach out to people, connect with people type of person. And I just would have networked a lot more than I did. I mean, just bottom line. I would have networked a lot more than I did. Would have been a lot more humble. But those were like the early days. I haven't had that problem in a while. You know what I mean? I haven't been arrogant in a long time, except for my fiance. She'll probably say different. But that's not business, though. That's not business. But in business, no, I lost all arrogance. I'm a totally humble person now. I mean, I've seen so much up to this point. Like now, it's like that Doughboy line. I hang around 100 millionaires. You're not rich to me. Well, that's kind of like what I do now. So now I know what, you know what I mean? I know the different levels. So I can never feel like, you know what I mean, I'm above anybody. And then I've come from the bottom. And so now when I'm talking to people who are still at the bottom, I have sympathy and empathy. You know what I mean? So I don't look at them. I look at them just like me because we come from the same place. You know what I mean? I've been there before. I can relate to you. And then when I'm talking up to people who are above me, you know, I treat them with the same respect that I treat this person. Everybody basically gets the same respect for me now. And that didn't used to be the case with me. You know what I mean? But now I show everybody respect, no matter what their position, what they got going on. So that's probably something that I one of my most valuable lessons I learned along the way is just show everybody respect, no matter where and what they got going on.
Right.
You know what I mean? Something else that book taught me, while I'm on the subject, that has really worked out well for me is you have to make allies with your surroundings. So for instance, I'll give an example. When I go into the Alamo offices, there are a lot of people there, maybe like 30. I shouldn't say a lot, maybe like 30. But there's like 30 people there, and most of them have nothing to do with my position. But I still make effort to go sit down and talk to them and be friends with them. Because just let's say, not that it would ever happen, I don't think, but let's say you needed somebody to vouch for you. Like this intern could one day be the VP of Interscope. And because I went and sat and had that conversation with them when they were nobody, you know what I mean? That's going to carry so much. They're going to remember that. You know what I mean? And these type of things literally have happened in my life. Like I know interns who are now in head positions. You know what I mean? And so it spoke to that in that book. It's just about having allies, and you never know what people are going to do in life. So that's why you want to treat everybody nice, and you want to befriend everybody. And so I make a point of doing that when I go to a place like Alamo, where I'm, you know, maybe number 3 on the list, but I'm still talking to the person that's just an intern. Like they'll, you know, I don't know, some people might be like, why is he kicking it with the intern? But that's why I'm kicking it with him. Because I don't know where this person is going, and I don't know how much I can help this person. You know what I mean? So it's twofold. So that's probably one of my most valuable things.
No, I love it.
No, for sure. Yeah. So I mean, anybody want to tap in? You know, we're definitely here to, like I said, to be a resource to talk about anything. I got the time. I'm taking the time out. So please, questions, even thoughts. You know what I mean? You might not even be a question. It might just be a thought. Please tap in and let me know.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
I wanted to have you discuss when you know And when I say when you know, like it's right to make a deal, versus going independent or a major label, what are the things that you look for? You know, let's say that, and I'm asking you that from a management perspective.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, every situation is different, of course. So I mean, there's never a perfect answer to that question. But for the most part, it's when you feel like you've taken. For me, I always try to take it as far as I can before we go to the next level. My whole approach to management is stepping stones. Like I always try to constantly climb a ladder. Everything we do, I want it to look bigger than the last thing we did. So a lot of times I'll hold out resources, like say for instance, and this is a bigger platform. But say for instance, I know I can get that New Music Friday billboard from Spotify. I know I can get it for facts. So I got an album rollout. We have 2 singles coming out. Then the album, I'm not gonna use that on the first single because I want everything to go up. So the first single, I'll just take the playlist in. The second single, I may take the whatever the case may be, and on the plateau, I want that billboard because my goal is to always make everything look bigger than the last thing. And so, but for your question, once I feel like I've kind of exhausted my resources and I need more partners to bring in more resources, that's when I want to do it. Because for another reason too is because I want the biggest check that they can give me. And if I know I can keep going, I'm not going to tap out early. I'm gonna try to build as much as I can before I tap into that resource. So I mean that's the main thing, and for everybody that could be different. You know, some people may not have the finances and like, okay, resources might be up there in their day one. I need these guys. You know what I'm saying? But some people do have a little bit of money stacked up that they can continue to build that stuff. Not to say that everything costs money, because most things that break, it isn't because of money. Majority of things that break isn't because of money. Money helps, but at the end of the day, you know, it's like hitting the lottery for artists to break. So most of them break without having any money. So, but yeah, I just try to build as high as I can and just make everything look bigger than the last. Find some way, and like I said, I'm so anal about that I'll withhold resources just to make sure it looks better once I'm trying to hit that the next biggest thing. You know what I mean? Like, I always wanted to look bigger than the last thing we did, because as a fan, you want to feel like the person you're a fan of is growing. You don't want them to look stagnant. You want to feel like, wow, you see what they did this time? Oh, wow, now they messing with this person. You want to feel like you grew with them. And if I give you the best thing I got from day one, now it's kind of like, oh, he fell off. I remember he was on the billboard. Now he doing this. You know what I mean? So it's like I want it to look like it's constantly growing, because I know that's what the fan expects. If you give them the best early, and then from now on you're going downhill, they're of course going to look at it like, oh man, I remember when this happened, and now you're doing this. They're going, it's psychology to the fan and to the, and so that's why I just always want a stepping stone, and that's why I hold the best resources to the point where I'm trying to peak. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's usually how I work. Was it the second part of your question? I feel like you said something else.
I did. I asked about like I felt like I asked about contracts. I usually like to ask everybody about contracts.
Okay.
What is it? Let me put it this way: when you're doing a deal with someone, let's say you've gotten to the point where you're at the label now, what's something that you want to always make sure is in your what's a non-negotiable for you?
Yeah. Well, I mean, of course, this is, every situation is different. But in my shoes, there's always going to be a profit share deal done, just because of my background, and just because of, the things I bring to the table, the knowledge I bring to the table. But also, before I had that knowledge, I mean, I just built it to the point where they had to give me that, because we had already done so much. And that's what happened with Kemp. We had to do a profit share deal because we had already become the #1 independent in the country. But it's definitely going to be a profit share deal at every time, also known as a joint venture. And that basically just means, instead of them instead of them recouping and then you getting paid, no, wait, I said that wrong. Sorry. Profit share basically means you guys split the profits. Let's just keep it simple. It means you guys split the profits, whereas an artist deal is where I wonder how to break this down. If they spend $1 million, right, and then the album sells an equivalent of $1 million, you're not seeing any of that money. Your artist deal says that you get a 20%, you get 20 points per album. So that means out of that million, you made 200,000, if that makes sense, because you had 20 points of it. So the way it works is you're
Would you say so? You're saying points as in like 20 also would equal percent?
Yeah, points percentage in this situation is very, pretty much the same thing. So
okay.
Your 20% has to equal up to $1 million before you see any money. So at that point, what have they made? 20 million? Yeah, for it to equal million, at that point, I don't know if that math is right. Correct me if I'm wrong. But at that point, they've made 20 million. For your 20% to equal, what's 20% of 20 million?
400,000.
Okay, we're not good at math today. I don't think that's right either.
Yeah,
whatever the case,
20% of 20% of for sure that's right.
20% of 1 million is 200,000, so that means it's 10 million. Okay, I got the math. It's 10 million. So by the time your 20% reaches $1 million, they have made $10 million, and that is how an artist deal works. But in a profit share, after they recoup that million and they've made 10 million, you get 4.5 million. You get half of the 9 million that's made.
Right.
So in one situation, you've only made, well, shit, you just recouped. You ain't even made no money by the time they made 10 million. But in the profit share situation, you've made $4.5 million.
Right.
Right. So it's
but that's basically the difference.
They make it difficult, of course. So that's why it's hard to explain, because they make it difficult because obviously their goal is to rape you. They want all the money. But
and in that case, it's the label operating almost as like a bank giving you a loan. Versus,
I mean, because they still had obviously all of their label services.
Mm-hmm.
So that $1 million they spent, a lot of that they spent on themselves. Like you're paying for their publicist, and you're paying for their product manager, and you're paying for their radio person. You know what I mean? So a lot of that money goes right back in their pocket as well. But yeah, so the number one thing that I always do is profit share, because that means we all get paid together after it's been recouped. You know what I mean? I recouped on camp in 2016, and so now they have to cut me a check semi-annually for all of the streams. So if we had just done a normal artist deal, which is like 90% of the business, maybe more, we would still owe them a lot of money to this day. But since 2016, we've been getting our checks because we did a profit share deal. So that's the number one thing that I always am going to make sure I'm doing is profit share deals, or they're called joint ventures. So that's the number one thing. But honestly, in this climate that we're in, I don't know that I was signed to a major, because the game has really been reduced to DSPs and digital marketing. Now digital marketing is also handling the press, because all of the press is digital. So you really only have two things to the game now, and that's DSPs and digital marketing. And both of those can be offered at any distribution company, an Empire, a Streamcut, a Red, or Orchard. Yeah, like all of these companies offer those two things. How good they are, that's another question. But those companies all offer the same thing, and you retain the right to your masters, and you get paid every month. Like I just told you, Interscope only pays semi-annual. That's twice a year. You gotta wait for your money. Whereas distribution, you're getting your money every month. And you can always choose to move it. That's because you own it. You can always choose to move it from distribution company to distribution company. Wherever you want to do, it's yours. You own it. Whereas, you sign it to a major, you're not getting that back.
In this climate, would you still, because you've also built your own label, would you still go the route of creating a label?
Like, yeah, most definitely, because a lot of artists still need help. I mean, I know even I just, said maybe some negative towards the label, but at the end of the day, they are helping the artists. So as long as artists need help, then you're gonna need a label. So yeah, most definitely I would. It's definitely a lot of money to be made. I mean, I learned back when I was 19 that if you want to make money in this business, you have to be the label. That's the number one person profiting from this business. Not the artist, not the producer. It's nobody but the label. The person who owns the master is the person who profits. And that's just the bottom line. Because artists come and go. They last 3 years, they last 5 years, they last 1 year. With a label, shit, every label you can think of been around since the 80s. You know what I mean? That's 40 years. Why aren't they gone? Because they're the label. They own the masters. They're making the money. You know what I mean? So your show money will run out way before the label's money run out, because people gonna buy that record and stream that record for the rest of their lives and their kids' lives. You know what I'm saying? Your kids probably listen to Michael Jackson. They was not around when Michael Jackson was around, but they listen to Michael Jackson. And the label is eating. Michael Jackson long gone. He ain't made no show money in 50 years. But the label's still eating. And so, you know, if I were anybody trying to get into the music business, that would be the thing that I'm working up to. I'm working up to being able to own my own label, which you can start from day one, but it is also good to study and learn. Internships like Destiny is doing is very valuable. You get to learn. So yeah, so I mean, if you're trying to make money in music business, learn how to be the label. Yeah, for sure.
So I had a question for I guess it's sort of from the producer end. But I had to do some more with the thinking stuff. So I had because I actually do have like a bunch of stuff on Spotify, and I got stuff on Apple Music, and because I go through DistroKid.
Yeah.
I actually heard you mention that last week. But one of the things, like I'll be watching a lot of I haven't watched a lot of them, but I've seen like some reality shows and all that stuff, and they have like every 10 seconds is like a different track. And that's just one example of like a whole bunch of different places that use music for stuff.
Right.
So I'm trying to think like how do I get, or what do I do, or what should I start doing to get in contact with, I don't know if it would be like ad agencies or music supervisors or what, like
to get into those shows.
Right. To get into that area.
If we're talking about regular syncs, then you're definitely talking about the music supervisors. But my advice would be to start from the bottom, meaning going to film festivals, going to a lot of these meetups. Cleveland actually has a very big film scene. A lot of movies get shot in Cleveland, but there are film students that need music in their movie, and they can't afford it. So you're coming on as an asset to them. And guess what? 5 years from now, that could be so-and-so, Ava DuVernay. Didn't she just start in like 2012? You know what I mean? So let's say Ava DuVernay, however you say her name, was in your area, and she's a film student, and now you're the person doing her music. That's how you get into the game. You start at the bottom with the people who are just like you, trying to do what you're trying to do, but from a different aspect, the filmmakers. You know what I mean? And you provide them that music. And of course, they're going to swear by you. Oh, this is the best music person in the world. This is the only person I want working on my TV show, working on my film. You know what I mean? So that would be my advice. Start at the film festivals. Start at the local meetups, Facebook groups, Zooms about film, because I'm sure there are many of them right now. Tap into these people and identify yourself as, what's the word? A scoring artist. Is that what it is in film? Is scoring?
Yeah, film
scoring.
Film scoring. Identify yourself as a film scorer. Put it in your bio. Film scorer. You know what I mean? So that when people talk to you, they talk to you about what you're trying to do. And so that would definitely be my advice for trying to get into that. And I honestly don't think it is that crowded of a field. I think you will flourish fast because a lot of young Black people are not thinking about film scoring. So I think you will be able to jump into that pretty fast.
Yeah, it is a lot. It is a lot of well, it was until the pandemic, but yeah, I'm gonna start going to some more of those meetups then,
Yeah,
or Zoom
just
meetups
like
rather.
the biggest thing is making sure you identify yourself as that, so they know what you're doing, what you're trying to do. And to them, you know what I mean, they don't know your background, so sometimes you really gotta do like Destiny. Her shit say A&R on her shit. I didn't know that Destiny wasn't the A&R. She was just an intern. I not that she wouldn't have got any less respect, but I'm just saying I automatically identify her as an A&R. So put that in bio so people automatically identify you as a film scorer. And trust me, it'll take you a lot farther just with them knowing, thinking of David, film scorer. That's how they'll think of you, and that's what they'll come to you with. And they'll also be able to say, "Oh yeah, I know a film scorer. Let me hit them up for you. Let me connect y'all." You know what I mean? So that, I mean, it sounds small, but it's very big.
Yeah, it's all about I
That's
do
what
it.
it's going to be.
Yeah, it's thank you, because it's all about that titling and naming. And a lot of times I'll be like, oh yeah, I do sound design, and then people are like, what?
Yeah, so definitely go ahead and move forward with that. But now is a great time because everybody in the house. So I would reach out to some of those networks and just let them know what you do. Ask them, do they have anything they're working on? Send it to you. Let me put something under and tell me what you think about it. You know what I mean? So on and so forth. A lot of people are making skits from home right now. Why don't you start scoring their skits for them? Take a skit off their page, score it, and send it to them. What do you think about this? You know what I mean? Like it's really a lot of influencers out here that are making plenty of content. Take it off their page, rip it, put
Absolutely.
the under it, send it back to them. Yo, check this out. And then the next time before they put something out, I'm like, I'm gonna send it to this kid over here. He gonna hook it up for me. Then somebody gonna look at his shit and be like, oh man, how did you get that? Then they're gonna direct them to you. And that's how you start to build your name. So yeah, that would definitely be my advice to you.
Can I ask another complicated question?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, so now that you said joint ventures, I've been thinking about those a lot too.
Okay.
And I see that there's different kinds of, just by like, you know, the music groups that I follow. So for example, like Young Money, Cash Money, Republic Records, and they're under like Universal, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like I'm just trying to figure out like who does what, like how do they split the work, you know, like because on the album credits for the artist it still says like Young Money, Cash Money, and so but we still know that they are probably distributed via Republic. So
Right.
yeah, how
Through
does that work?
Universal. Yeah. I mean, so every situation is different because the whoever's in charge of Young Money, which I think is Mac Man, he's going to rely on what they do well, and what they don't do well, he's going to bring in his people to do. Or if he trusts his people more than their person, even they may do it well, but he trusts his person more, he's going to have his person do it. So again, for instance, he may think that Universal isn't close enough to the ground on digital marketing. He wants people who are really tuned into what's happening on Black Twitter, whereas Universal may not be tuned in with that. So he's going to hire his own digital marketers who's hip to Black Twitter and things of such nature to do this project, and let and just invoice Universal for if they don't have a overhead already. So I mean, it's all case by case. You're building a team, and so whatever team members on their team that you want to tap into, you tap into, and whatever team members you feel like you'll be best served bringing in on your own, you're gonna bring them in, and that's how it works across the board in any situation. For me, what I like to do is I like to give everybody a chance. So like if I go to work with a new situation, and this just happened with the Q Money situation when we went to Warner Brothers, I wanted to sit back and see what they did well before I come and try to say, oh, I know everything, or oh, I got to do this. I was like, let me give them the opportunity and see what they do well, and then once I know what they do well and what they don't do well, okay, I know where I need to step in at. And so that's really how I play it in most situations. I always get an opportunity. I watch and learn. Like some people may be able to teach me some people may be trash. Okay, I know that they're not good at their job. Let me go ahead and grab somebody from that I have worked with before that I know is good at this, and get them to do it. And so that's really how it works.
Got you. And okay, so can uh so there's another one. Do you know the artist Hood Celebrity?
It's a
She's
girl,
really
right?
good.
Yeah, I know that girl.
Yeah.
I don't like. I've heard maybe one song. I think she had a song on the radio in 2019. I don't know much
Yeah.
about her, but I know a little bit.
No, so I know that like their situation, like she signed to KSR, which is like a indie label, right? And then, but she's also signed to Epic Records, right? But I'm wondering, like, the guy who signed her from KSR, because he has other artists on his roster, right? So could like indie label like that have more than one like label partnership?
Ask me that again. The last part.
Okay, so so he already has like a Hip Celebrity. She's on Epic Records, right? But he signed her first from KSR, so they have that partnership. But he also has other artists on his roster on KSR.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, could he then do another deal with another like label for another artist?
Got you. I mean, that totally depends on his contract. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
That really depends on his contract, because I mean, he might have did a joint venture with a first right of refusal, meaning we get to look at him first. If we pass, you can take him somewhere else. Or he might have just did a one-off with that one artist. He may not even have a joint venture. I mean, we just really don't know.
Right.
It depends on his contract and what he negotiated.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
No doubt.
Man, y'all just like sparked a lot of questions for me. Like one that I do have is like, I know we all know the method of like, when it comes to like funding a label early, it's like find a doughboy, let him finance it. What are some more like legit legal ways for entrepreneurs to fund their labels without going that route?
Right. Well, I mean, here in Atlanta, we have a fund. We have a music fund. It's run by what is her name? She used to be at TuneCore, but now she works for Keisha Lance Bottom.
Falana Williams.
Falana, thank you. It's run by Falana. So we actually have a fund that you can go apply for, and they'll give you a loan for your business. YouTube has a fund called Foundation that you can I don't know if you can apply for them, but they do have a fund called Foundation. So I mean, you have different funds that you can tap into. You can crowdsource. Spotify actually lets you fundraise now, so you can add a fundraiser campaign to your Spotify account via Cash App, PayPal, or GoFundMe. You get to choose which vehicle you want to use. So I mean, you have that, and then the thing that Nipsey Hussle was working on before he passed away is still a thing where you can have people basically it's almost like a stock where you can buy into a song. So the people get to fund the song and they end up owning a piece of it, but they give you the money to go out and promote that song. There's also SBA loans. You can get a loan to start your label. That one may be a little far-fetched, but I mean, I'm sure it's possible. I'm sure people have done it before. Or you can, start with no money. I mean, take it back to myself. My label was started with no money. I was dead broke. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, you can always start with no money. Money isn't always the answer in the music business, because a lot of time, and I'm guilty of this, money kills creativity. Some things that I have more money for, I don't try to get creative. I'm like, oh, just put money into it to solve the problem. And it doesn't work nearly as good as if I would have been creative and gave the people something they wanted to see. So I mean, starting with no money is perfectly fine, man. It's a hustler's game. You just gotta get out there and hustle. But yeah, there's a few ways. There's funds, there's loans, there's like I said, funding where you kind of crowdsource, and then there's just bootstrapping where you do what you can. One thing that I learned that honestly it did help me build my business was the Rich Dad Poor Dad book. It's something that I lived by early. One of the main things it teaches you is more or less the barter system. I'm going to help you with this so that you help me with this. You know what I mean? And that is really honestly how I started my label. I was doing a lot of bartering services. Hey man, what do you need? Okay, bet. Hey, but can you help me with this? I did that a whole lot early on because I didn't have any money. but I did have some know-how, I did have some knowledge, I did have some hustle about me. And so it's really just about, you know, bringing value to somebody, and that value you bring to them ends up bringing value back to what you have going on. And so yeah, that really helped me a lot in the early stages, all the way up to the, you know, when we did break it big. And it's something that I still should be implementing to this day. So I just taught myself another lesson. I need to implement that even more to this day. Yeah.
No, I appreciate that.
No, for sure, man.
Yeah, I know we like at 5:01, but I have one more question for you.
Go ahead. I want to stay on to at least 8:15.
Perfect. Yeah. So how often do you see Alamo utilizing like SoundCloud ads, Pandora's like AMP ad service, and Spotify's ad services to promote releases?
We use Pandora AMP ad on everything.
Okay.
Pandora is a great source. Well, no, you said ads. No, we don't use the ads, but we use the liners, because you can put liners on every record. You can put them on before the record, after the record. And it's one more, it's a third piece to it. But we use the liners on everything. They have where you can have like a highlighted track, and it's literally like you highlight the track, and it literally just makes sure that track get played more than the rest of it. And so we make sure that on every single artist. As far as ads, I don't think we've utilized Pandora ads. SoundCloud is very important to the underground. And so for the most part, we do SoundCloud reposts on almost every artist. Because the SoundCloud discovery is the new and hot playlist is huge. Like literally that's how like people like Kylie Jenner and people like that find new music, is on those new and hot playlists. And so we try to make sure every release that we have hits that playlist, hits that top 50 mark to be in that new and hot, because it's huge for discovery. So, and that sort of repost campaign is usually about $5,000, just to give you more info. Yeah, that repost campaign is usually about $5,000, and we do it on pretty much everything. What's the other ad you said?
Spotify.
We don't do the Spotify ads. The Spotify ads are a little overpriced. We don't do it, but what we do is social media ads that point back to Spotify. And with Spotify, you can do a deep link. So if you go to Spotify and you go to your song inside a playlist, and there's a link that says copy song link, and there's a link that says copy URI. So you take that URI and you go into a smart link, because the URI won't work by itself. You put it in a smart link, and then you put that inside your ad. So whatever the swipe up is, and it points back to your song in that playlist.
Right.
That data really helps with the editorial staff, because they want to see that your song is doing well in their playlist. And so we run heavy ads on things like that. So if we get any playlist and this is a focus track, we're always going to run those social media ads that point back to that playlist using what they call the deep link, which is a URI link.
Okay. Smooth. Oh. Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
No doubt, man. No doubt. DeMar, tap in, man. What's up, man? Talk to us.
Yeah, I'm listening, man. A little late, but I'm blessed. How y'all doing?
Anything on your mind, DeMar?
Nah, just learning new information every day, studying what's going on. Like y'all was just talking about, rolling out songs correctly in a certain time frame, so it can be in the pitch tool. Strategizing with your content, so it can, go to certain links that can build revenue for you, which would be streams, of course. So that's pretty much all I'm doing, just trying to be strategic, really, pretty much. Think outside the box with what you have. Because, like you said, be creative. Even if you do have the money, I'm still like, hold on, before I spend it, what can I do first before I just spend it?
That's a big key. Like, even when you have the money, you need to think first and say, what can I do that'll be free, that'll be creative? Because most likely that'll get your brain spinning. That'll get creativity going, rather than just dumping the money into the problem. So always think first, what can I do? So like, for instance, if you want to run an influencer campaign on TikTok, you should think first, what TikTok can I make? How can I do something first before I go spend whatever amount of money to get other influencers? Why don't I try something first? So because that builds your creativity, because then you're thinking, what can I do that will work? And you might end up not having to spend any money and be way better off because you started the trend versus somebody else started the trend. So I always think first before you spend money.
Nice.
Yeah.
Your Spotify thing, or the information you gave on Spotify, got me thinking. Because back before Spotify let artists just upload the track there, like you had to go through DistroKid, or you had to go through.
You had to go through DistroKid, or you still had to go through some sort of distribution.
Right. Like I was just using it as an example, but because I thought I saw an announcement where you could upload your stuff straight to Spotify. Is that, I don't know if that's
it was there for a minute, but they actually stopped that program.
Oh, they stopped. Oh,
yeah,
I'm guessing it's got to. Yeah, I figured I was gonna ask, like, was it better to just do it through Spotify or do it through a distribution service? But
if it had been the case, it would definitely be better to do it through Spotify, because obviously DistroKid and every other service charges, so you'd be saving that money.
True.
But yeah, I like TuneCore the best if we're talking about just delivering our own music. But DistroKid would definitely be my next pick after TuneCore.
So why would TuneCore be better for just like the independent artists?
Honestly, just ease of use. It's nothing really more than that, because I think TuneCore actually costs a little bit more, but it's so much simpler to use. You know what I mean? And so honestly, for me, it just comes down to that ease of use. DistroKid is cheaper, but it's much more complicated. Like, they make it too complicated, in my opinion. TuneCore is a very simple process, and so that's the only reason. DistroKid is definitely a cheaper one, which is why it would be my second, because if I'm trying to save every dime, I would definitely go with DistroKid.
Can I add on to that?
Yeah.
So I also love TuneCore. I'm like a super hard advocate for them. Another reason that I love them is because their entire team is accessible. So you have like John Sierra, who was like artist relations in Atlanta, and then you have Chris Mooney used to be there, but he's based out in New York. You have Liam, who's based out in New York, and he's like a sync manager. And these are all people that you could reach out to, and they were actually some of the people who helped us get our first syncs. But and they also have representation here in Los Angeles. But another big thing for me was that they had the TuneCore Publishing Administration, and they just admin your work for you. You pay a one-time fee, but they can admin as much stuff as you want them to.
Right.
And you will retain 100% of the income that we come into, or the royalties, I should say. But also, when it was time for us to take Trev from TuneCore Publishing to Pulse, they made it super easy for us to just come in and say, hey, we would love to terminate this. I know that we're supposed to be on this deal for a year, but what can we do, or what can we do to help you guys help us get out of this so that we can, move to the next company? And they didn't ask of anything for us except to fill out one form, and they terminated that publishing administration deal, and we were able to literally just go and take everything we wanted to Pulse and go from there. So, it's, like you said, it's ease of use.
Yeah, that's really what it comes down to. So, I'm an advocate for them as well.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I got a question, if possible. So I don't know how deep we getting in the game for instance, but like I see a lot of people talk about pay to play as far as radio, for instance, right? It was like clips that was going viral about, radio budgets and so forth. So in my mind, I would transfer that to streaming. Like, would you say people pay to play for streaming, correct? Is that something that's like
you have third party streaming, which means like I'm going to pay you to put me on your playlist. And third party means it's user playlist. So, for instance, I take a playlist, I make it, promote it, I build it up to 50,000 followers, and then I say, hey, you can get on my playlist for $200. I mean, technically that's pay to play. You know what I mean? So, so yeah, and the same goes for like you have YouTube playlists, Apple Music playlists. So yeah, it exists, but I mean, we use it often. You know what I mean? Because if you're talking about a new artist, you have to find ways to put them in front of people. You know what I mean?
Because that was my question, was like, basically, if that's the case, I've been hearing different things about like reference to artists fluffing the numbers, if I want to use that, paying for streaming.
That's not what third party playlists
is. That's what I said. That's a different situation. Yeah, and that's what I'm speaking on, is like how, basically my question is, if you were to do that, right? Mm-hmm. Either way, you fluff the numbers or you take the way that you're doing. What are some other ways that you can catch up to the music to make it organic? Does that make sense?
I don't understand. What do you mean?
All right, for instance, like I didn't see artists, I know for sure they numbers, they ain't for real. But for instance, like a 6ix9ine, for instance, he control his way to popularity at the same time to make something look organic to connect. You feel what I'm saying?
I get you.
That's one way of connecting it, knowing that it's bigger than really what it is, but you trying to connect it. So I don't want to troll. I'm saying, so what are some other ways, you know what I'm saying, to connect to your music if you do use mechanics to get it to pop? You feel what I'm saying?
Well, the point of using the third-party playlist is to put it in front of new people, and if they connect to it, they'll save it to their catalog, to their library. And then if they really connect to it, they'll seek you out. They'll go find you on Instagram or they'll go find you on YouTube. So I mean, that's really the point of it, is to put you in, is to build audience, put you in front of more people. So I mean, that the answer to your question is that, like, that's what we use it for. We don't use it for the numbers, because Spotify and YouTube, we'll never bring them that sort of information. That's something that's almost frowned upon because it is pay to play. So we would never bring them that information. So we're not using it to build numbers. We're using it to build audience.
Okay, I thought they had access to the information, so they already know in a sense. But I see what you're saying.
No,
You want to put it in their face.
They can easily recognize that that's what's going on, but that's why I wouldn't bring it to them. I wouldn't say, hey, look at these numbers, knowing how I did it, because they can easily look at it and see how it was done. But that's why I said new artists. This is something I'm used to build a new artist. This isn't something I'm doing on a ride wave or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? This is me trying to build an audience for a new artist. And that's what I use that third-party playlisting for, which is quote-unquote pay to play. But radio has always, still is to this day, and will forever be pay to play. You know what I mean? That is how radio works. So that, I mean, there's no getting around that. There's really, the only free radio that exists is if your song is just scorching, where the fans are demanding them to play this song. That is the single way to get around pay per play, and they won't do it for long.
So you still got to put some money behind it.
Literally, they will find out who's the part of this song when they say, hey, man, I've been playing it. When y'all gonna cut the check? That's you might have 2 weeks before they say, oh, you ain't gonna pay us? All right, well, I'm gonna have to pull this one then. So it won't even last for long. So like, that's really the only way, is this song got to be super hot. And even then, they're going to look for their check. They're going to say, who's part of this song? Let me reach out to them. Yo, I'm showing you mad love. Hey, man, just go and send that check through. And, you don't want to send the check. Okay, well, let me go and pull this out of here. Let me get this one's off the radio. so yeah, that's so radio. I mean, there's no getting around that. You're always going to need your radio budget to get a record to go up through there.
So have you heard of playlist push?
No, what is that?
I'm guessing it's like, so when I look up, it's like, how do you get a playlist? How do you get like your stuff on a playlist, like in Spotify or something? Playlist push, I guess, is one of these services that'll do it. But it's basically like pay to play. You pick a playlist that you want to be on, and then they'll tell you a price, and you gotta pay it, and then they'll put you on if they think it's good.
That doesn't sound right. If you're paying, they should put you on it. But if you're talking about official Spotify playlist, then they don't have any control over that.
Oh, it's not. Well, it's not an official Spotify. I'm guessing it's one that people make.
You made playlists. Yeah, but I mean, I'm not gonna pay you unless you're going to do it. Like if you're talking about you gonna listen to it and let me know after I done paid you, that don't make sense.
I think it's before, because like the way what happened was, like I would send like the link to the song, and it had to be on Spotify because the song was already on Spotify. So I'll send them the Spotify link, and they're like, all right, this sounds good. We're going to charge you this much to put it on this playlist.
Yeah, no, I understand. I mean, that's kind of how it works. I mean, we usually use Digital People that has a network of playlists. And so we're not just talking about one playlist. We're talking about 10 to 30 or something like that. But yeah, that sounds like it's fine. I would just always, when you're working with someone new, kind of test the waters. Like, hey man, let me give you this little bit, see how it works before I just give you all in. Like, you know what I mean? I always want to test the waters, and honestly, for me, when we're dealing with these new digital people, because there are always people coming out the woodworks, I make them do it for free first. I'm like, hey, let me see something here. Take this song, show me what you can do with this song, and once they prove themselves, then But I obviously, I have a little leverage, but still, I just think, man, give them a small amount, see what they do with it, and if it works out, then feed them more. basically build a relationship. Don't just, you know, throw them your whole check. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Right. Because they. Oh, right. Because they ask for, like, they'll ask for like a good amount. Like it'll be like, oh, you want this on like the synthwave playlist? Oh yeah, that'd be a nice 700.
All right. How many players they talking about?
Just for synth, it's just I'm assuming it's just like one or two. I haven't looked in a while. It was like,
What I'm asking is, what are you getting for the 700? Did they give you a number? Did they say, hey, we can get you between this range of streams?
I don't think so.
I don't know, man. I'd be more interested in making 700 than spending 700.
Right. That's why I was like, I'm gonna hold off on this one. I was like,
I would focus more energy on how can I build a channel that will make me 700 versus how can I spend this 700. That
Right.
Me personally, doing what you're doing, because like I said, it's a very lucrative thing that you're in with those beats. There are a lot of channels that are making a lot of money, just off the streaming of their beats. I would think more into marketing if that was the route you were trying to go. Like, how would I market something like this? Maybe not necessarily playlisting for something like that. How do you market your beats channel? Or how do you market your beat tapes? I more so think like that, in that situation.
yeah, I put stuff on Instagram and do all. I mean, you done seen a couple of them.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I would focus on market. I would be thinking, how can I make 700? Not how can I get this guy 700 to be in his playlist.
Right.
Full week. Thank you for joining me here on Share Information. I really appreciate you guys. We'll be right back next week. I do have the Slack group. If I don't know if all of you are in it, but any questions you have midweek, put them in there. I'll answer them right then and there. It comes right to my phone. So definitely feel free to reach out. Thank you guys again. Hopefully I'll see you guys next week. You know, if you want to tell 2 people about it, invite 2 people, definitely let's keep this thing growing. I appreciate you guys. I'll talk to you guys later.